Tools to Transcend by Sam Bell. Algorithmic grip, attention, validation, and the tools to transcend. The neural pragmatic landscape. From a clinical speech and language pathology standpoint, the human brain is plastic. Responsive organ continually reshaping by the nature and frequency of the input. This means that the brain can change and adapt based on what we do and experience. In the same way that neural circuits adapt to recover after a stroke or reconfigure to bypass a degenerative loss. As I've witnessed over 4 decades in acute care and hospice settings, so too do these networks recalibrate based on repeated digital exposure. The operative term here is neuroplasticity. It is both our salvation and our vulnerability. Just as repeated articulation therapy can restate a patient's phonological pathway post aphasia, repeated engagements with algorithmically selected content can alter one's attentional salience maps. These maps govern what we notice, ignore, and value. Attention is not infinite. It is triaged by neural filters, primarily cortical and subcortical systems like the prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate cortex, and basal ganglia. When social media algorithms curate what we see based on past engagements, they essentially outsource our prefrontal cortex's executive functions to a commercial logic designed to maximize screen time and ad revenue. This dynamic is not benign. It is formative, pressing, and demands our immediate attention. The ethical implications of this situation are profound and cannot be ignored. The philosophy of perception and persuasion in British A-level philosophy, one teaches that knowledge must pass 3 tests. It must be justified, true, and believed. But what if belief itself is shaped by unexamined habits of attention? This is where the philosophy of perception and persuasion comes in their silent operations. Algorithms behave not unlike the ancient sophists, those rhetorical mercenaries whom Socrates so detested. They persuade not by truth, but by sheer repetition, aesthetic appeal, and emotional resonance. Attention in this context becomes currency. Is it is what the algorithms mine, shape, and sell. Philosopher Harry Frankfurt once distinguished between lies and bullshit, the latter being more dangerous because it shows no regard for truth at all. Algorithms in their neutral code exhibit this indifference. They do not care if what you engage in is noble, toxic, or trivial. They care that you engage and they learn through feedback loops, which keep your limbic system activated. Now consider validation. Human beings, particularly adolescents, crave affirmation. Validation is a neurological reinforcement, a dopageneric, dopamine generic reward, and a psychological anchor, intersubjective recognition. Validation algorithms, calculating likes and shares or time spent on a post, artificially engineer a sense of worth around the specific digital behaviors and expressions. They distort the natural feedback systems of social bonding. Validation in its algorithmic form becomes conditional, comparative, and performative. The more performative your content, the more likely it is to be validated. This skews identify information and identify formation and emotional development, particularly in young people whose cortical myelinization is not yet mature. Well, the mechanism for manipulation. Let's examine the operational scheme. First, data capture. Every action, click, pause, swipe, comment is recorded. These are linguistic acts in the semonic sense. Communicative behaviors that reflect preference, reflect mood, reflect orientation. Second, predictive modeling. Algorithms learn what triggers your dopamine release and what extends your engagement. Hello. This is akin to behavioral shaping in speech therapy. Positive reinforcement modifies behavior, but here the reward is a digital stimuli engineered to keep you responsive. Third, content curation and escalation. Once patterns emerge, algorithms serve increasingly specific content. If you're mildly anxious, you may be fed more content that elicits anxiety. If you engage with affirmations, you'll be fed more, but always more extreme, more attention grabbing. This escalation mirrors belief polarization, a psychological process wherein repeated exposure to aligned content hardens one's stance and increases hostility towards dissenting views. This is not by design. No, in the conspiratorial sense, it is emergent, but its effects are indistinguishable from manipulation. The way out is mindfulness and metacognition. Yes, mindfulness and metacognition. A path to change from both a therapeutic and philosophical vantage. The antidote is intentional cognition. We must teach youth to notice their minds at work. Mindfulness, a secularized form of ancient contemplative traditions. Mindfulness observes thoughts, sensations, and emotion without reactivity. It activates the default mode network less, and the salience and the executive networks more, increasing emotional regulation and attentional control. In speech language therapy, particularly with patients with frontal lobe injuries, we teach compensatory strategies to support awareness. Mindfulness is one such strategy for digital cognition. Metacognition. Metacognition literally is thinking about thinking. It allows the learner to step outside automatic thought loops. A metacognitive teenager might say, I'm scrolling endlessly. Why am I feeling this right now? Why am I avoiding it? Mindfulness builds the platform. Mindfulness builds the platform. Metacognition provides the toolkit. Metacognition provides the toolkit. Three practical examples for elevating consciousness. These are designed to foster attentional autonomy and emotional resilience. One, the scroll pause practice. Attentional recovery. Instruction. Each time you catch yourself scrolling, pause. Ask yourself, what emotion am I feeling right now? Was I seeking distraction? Seeking connection? Seeking validation? What's one thing I can do offline that honors this emotion? Neurological rationale, this strengthens the anterior cingulate cortex, improving cognitive control, minor detail, and impulse inhibition. Hello. Outcome. Students develop neurological circuit breaker between stimulus and response over time. Hello, they wake up. Second one is the validation journal. It's emotional metacognition. Instruction. For 1 week, every evening, record one post or message you made online. How much engagement it received. How did you feel before and after seeing the reaction? The validation journal, emotional metacognition, the instruction is for 1 week every evening, record one post or message you made online. How much engagement it received. How did you feel before and after seeing the reaction? The philosophical reaction is my worth measurable by others' reactions? What does it mean to be authentic in a performative culture? And the therapeutic link mirrors emotional journaling strategies used in aphasia and trauma work to improve emotional labeling and insight. Outcome builds self awareness around externalization of self worth. What's the outcome? It builds self awareness outside around the externalization of self worth. an algorithmic transparency project, cognitive empowerment. The instruction was in groups, students pick a social platform and research how its algorithm works. They identify what behaviors it rewards, how it interprets attention, how it shapes community norms. Then they present strategy to resist manipulation, such as altering usage habits, using content blockers, or create sacred screen free spaces. Philosophical inquiry to what I am responsible for habits in my own manipulative system. I'm the one responsible. I mean, come on. What is freedom anyway? The freedom of my attention. As educators, psychologists, and individuals interested in digital literacy and mental health, we have a crucial role to play in addressing these questions and guiding the next generation towards a healthier relationship with technology. Clinical analogy, this mirrors compensatory environmental structuring used with patients with executive dysfunction, changing the input to protect the user. Outcome fosters critical digital literacy and shared agency. Conclusion toward attentional sovereignty. A future where we have the power to control our attention and not be at the mercy of algorithms. What we attend to becomes our world. Algorithms do not merely show us things, they shape the syntax of our perception and the grammar of our emotions. But we are not powerless. We can reclaim our agency with the right tools, attentional awareness, emotional acceptance, and cognitive reflection. Just as a speech therapist might have a patient relearn the motor planning of speech, so too can we help our youth relearn the planning of attention and the expression of worth. Mindfulness and metacognition are not luxury tools for the spiritually curious. They are the cognitive prosthetics in the era of algorithmic saturation. And perhaps that is the most urgent philosophical task of our time. Not merely to think, but to know how we are being made to believe and to choose a freer path. Samuel Joseph Bell, civilian journalist, spiritualmag.org.